myself into some credit card debt unintentionally, because I moved and I thought I had paid off my balance before I moved, and I changed my address and everything. And by the time everything caught up, I was in going to collections for it was like $20, and isn't that terrible?
Yes. I just heard about a story about that recently with somebody else that happened to too.
But luckily they listened to the whole story and they took it off of there. But the thing is, you have to be your own advocate and check your credit score and because you never know what you are overlooking, or if somebody has a similar name, it might be on your credit score, in that document that you print out.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. And then also, a credit secret, that most people don't know, that definitely want to share with everybody listening, is there's a 30% rule, meaning that if you have something else to help your credit scores go up, if you have $1,000 limit and you owe $800 on it, you don't want to carry a balance more than 30% of the loan limit. So basically, your balance shouldn't be more than $300. So if you owe $800, you need to, as quick as possible, pay down that $500, and that's also going to help your scores go up, in addition to any disputes like what you're talking about. If there's something on your credit report that just doesn't look right. Right.
So there's so many things. Credit reports are so intricate. Your phone bills are on there. If everything that you pay on time gets you don't get any negatives on it. But boy, if you're late on stuff and you have even your mortgage payment, anything that you are late on gets reported, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always best, especially when you're, you may not seem like anything, I can be late, paying this mortgage payment, or I can be late making the car payment, that 30-day late. But it can come back to bite someone in the butt when they're ready to buy a home and the loan officer is reviewing their credit report and is saying, oh, you have a late here, there's a late over here. And then you have to explain why you were late. Or even to your other point, you have to stay, you basically have to, just keep up with your credit report and check it regularly, because, you could get those medical bills, those $15, $20, $50 medical bills that are meaningless, but actually, really ding your credit scores if they go unaddressed.
Right.
So, it's a big deal. So you have to keep those things in mind as you are preparing for home ownership, or even, those that want to refinance their home. It's the same thing.
Right.
So
or
paying
get
your
a
bills
car
on time is important.
Right. It's anything. Even you're going to need a car sometime. You have to buy a different car every now and then. That's even something that when I was in real estate, I had these people that their daughter was sick, and for some reason he didn't have insurance right then. It might have been in between that waiting period, but he was a policeman, and as soon as his 90 days or whatever, he had really good coverage, but prior to that he did not. And they were 30 days late for their house payment, and the bank forgave them verbally and said, that's okay, you can skip this payment, because they were paying these medical bills, but they never stopped it in the computer system. So it showed up on his credit report when we pulled it to get him financed for the house that he was 30 days late for 6 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was really bad because it just kept going. He was always a month behind, so he was 30 days late every time.
Yeah, with a situation like that, I wonder, did he, did you be able to just talk with the bank to see what can be done for some, to not only just but getting it in writing so that way it's being able to be updated on the credit reporting agency.
Right. It was,
So
we didn't have the
way.
time to get it off of the credit report in time for them to get the house, because it was after they found the house and everything. And now things are different. I know people check their credit more online. This was quite a while ago. But the bank wrote a letter saying that, yes, they did indeed verbally forgive that loan. I mean, that payment. But gosh, if we wouldn't have checked it, how that could have gone on for years.
Well, absolutely. But and also, depending on the mortgage company or loan officer, they do provide services now where, like a rapid rescore, where, if you dispute, if you have something on your credit report that needs to be disputed, make the dispute, and it takes a few days, and they can update your credit report to reflect that item or items that were, taken off or paid, et cetera, and so forth. Because I remember about 5 years ago, I was in the process of buying the home that I'm in now. And, and just with everything that I went through with the divorce, I did have to do bankruptcy. And I did, before that, I gave my ex-husband 2 of the 3 properties that we had. And the property that his primary residence, he stopped making the payment to the HOA association. And so what they ended up doing was they took him to court. And then the bottom line, the fee was $5,000 outside of, when everything was all said and done. Well, I gave him the house. I signed it all over to him. So I don't know about this. But when I went to buy my home, the loan officer told me, by the way, you have a $5,000 delinquency on your credit report that you'll need to pay off before we can give you the loan. And then I looked into it. I'm like, this isn't my issue. This is my ex's. Well, we need you to either dispute that or you got to pay it off. But it's got to come off your credit report because we cannot approve financing unless it's gone. So the great thing is I was able to contact the attorney at, that was representing the association and said that, this isn't, I didn't own this house. And she's like, well, you were on the loan and on the lien. on the title. And I said, no, actually, I filed with the county to remove my name.
Did you do
from
a
the
quick
title.
claim?
So
a quick claim deed?
Yeah, I did a quick claim deed.
Yep.
I did a quick claim deed. And I immediately after he signed it, I went and we had 2 properties in the same county. I went and filed them with the county. And that is how I was able to get from the attorney a letter basically releasing me of that lien because I was not the owner of the property.
Right. So you were diligent about it.
Mm-hmm.
You were diligent about it, and you knew what to do. And that there's a lesson in here, and that is to make sure that you follow up and work with a realtor when it comes to getting rid of properties, or a lawyer, getting rid of properties and getting new ones, because there's so many little things that just the normal person walking down the street has no idea, would have no idea to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm about to say the loan officer, she just said call, but I'm just grateful that in the process of, doing that quick claim deed, I just went ahead and followed through with it. And that's what I would recommend with anybody that, especially if they're in that divorce type situation or just, let's just go different ways. You take this property, I take that property. That they just keep all the documentation and just follow through with everything. Because this was one situation where that could have been $5,000 out of my pocket,
right.
Or I would have had to just not be able to buy a home.
Right. Yep. And that stuff has a tendency to, if you wouldn't have taken care of it then, it would have followed you around for many years had you not, were you not buying your house right then. It just would have stuck there.
Yeah, well, I even have another example, another personal example. When I went to buy my first home, I did, when I was in college, I signed up for credit cards. Didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing the credit cards for to get the free whatever, free T-shirt, just whatever it was. And I had an apartment at the college I was at, and then I left, and I, sublet it to a young lady for the last like 3 months that I had the unit. And apparently the credit card came in the mail. She took it, she activated it, and so when I went to buy my first home, I was 23 years old when I went to do that. And the loan officer said, by the way, you have $1,000 collection on your credit report. And I'm like, you're lying. Okay, next loan officer. So I literally went to 3 different loan officers. They all said the same thing, but I wasn't really dealing with an agent quite yet. I was just trying to get the financing started.
Right.
And they all said the same thing. And then finally I'm like, okay, there's a consistent message here. Right. Clearly, there's some money that I owe that I didn't even, know about. And so that's how I ended up putting 2 and 2 together. Is she went on a $900 shopping spree.
Huh.
And I had to literally negotiate with the collection agency, and I think it cost me $350 for them to release me of the debt and remove it from my credit report. And they had to put it in writing and send it to me, as I paid it.
Right.
But that was a learned lesson right there too. It's like, and the reason why I share this with you, because I had also, within several months to a year prior to that, I had bought a car from my credit union and used my credit union's financing, and they never said anything to me about that. And all of a sudden now this, within months, this pops up, and I'm like, wow. Okay, this is confusing.
Yeah. Huh,
so you just never know, but it's just good, to your point. It's just really good to, just check your credit report on a regular basis to make sure that, things are being reported correctly and, you're making your payments on time.
Right. And my husband had, every now and then his identity gets crossed with another guy by the same name that lives in a different state. And I can't remember. I can't remember if he was buying his truck. I think it might have been his truck. And there was all this debt on there. And he's very conscientious about paying off credit cards at the end of the month. He never lets them go into the next month. And all of a sudden he had I want to say $8,000 in credit cards. And it was credit cards that we don't even have credit cards to these places. You know what I mean? It was to Kmart or something. And we don't have a credit card at Kmart. Maybe it wasn't Kmart. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying. And had they not pulled his credit card, and so now we know that we have to watch for that guy, because, and who knows why it overlaps, but their name is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely has to keep on a regular, sounds like, and watch his purchases too.
Right. I'm just glad that guy lives in another state, because it would be really complicated if he lived around here.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think people have to be aware of that, especially if they have common names or names that are. Yeah, I mean, my sister and I are four digits difference in our Social Security number. No, actually two. The last 2 digits are the only different numbers. And so when I went to buy things, like I say, my home, her college school loans were on my credit report. I had to dispute that. There's been times I've had to dispute her stuff off my credit report.
Wow, isn't that something?
Because we're so. Yeah, so people have to be aware of that. With names or even Social Security numbers, your family could be, like I said, my sister and I were 2 digits off, the last 2 digits.
So
yeah.
So and look at what just happened to me, my business account. Somebody got into my business account and bought some kind of tickets somewhere and kept going, and luckily my bank called me and saw it was suspicious. It's too bad that we live in a society like that. But so the message that we're trying to convey is keep an eye on your credit report. And it doesn't, if you go through one of those companies that you check online, it used to hurt your credit report every time it was pulled. But if you go through one of those companies online, it doesn't do that anymore, right? They've changed that?
Well, like if you use, you know, like there, if you have a credit card, for example, you can